Welcome to the Multi-Unit Leadership Information Session. My name is Aicha Bascaro, and I'm the founder and CEO of the American Franchise Academy. And we are here to share with you a lot about what it is to be an effective district manager and what are the responsibilities of that position, how critical it is, and what should it look like. And then we are also going to be sharing with you all of the details of our multi-unit leadership certification program that we are offer for the men and women that are out there that need this type of training and information, and the franchisees that are looking for solutions on how to give their leaders this knowledge and tools so that they can do the job even better. So to get started in this conversation, let's talk about what is the career progression in the franchise industry and really in any multi-unit organization. It all starts with being a team member, a crew member. I don't know how much you know about me, but I actually started way back when, over 3 decades ago, as a pizza delivery driver. And that's where you start, right? That is the beginning of many people in the industry. You start as a crew member, cashier, server, a delivery person, etc. And then you move on to into the initial leadership positions, where there's a shift leader, an assistant manager, and that's the next level. And then, of course, you have the manager position where you get to run a unit, and eventually the multi-unit leader or district manager, area coach, area supervisor, whatever title is being used. And ultimately, depending on the size of the organization, you can become a director of operations and so on. In this industry, in this career progression, the most challenging jump is that of going from a unit manager to a multi-unit leader position. And the reason for that is because these two jobs are radically different. Unit managers, their responsibility is to execute the business and brand systems of the franchise they are running. That's what they do every day. They're executing those systems. On the other hand, once you become a district manager or multi-unit leader, the job is for you to inspire the managers and the teams and the front lines that are doing that job every single day. And the skills required to be able to do that is completely different from that of the general manager. And this is why there are so many challenges when it comes to that jump in that position, and why so many district managers struggle. And it takes them, months and sometimes years to figure out their rhythm on how to do that job successfully. And the truth is that there is training and support for unit operations. That franchisors, most of them do a great job of providing training materials, operations manual, guidance on how to run one unit successfully. But there is very little support on the multi-unit leadership position. And because of that, there is, the result of that is that you have people that get promoted before they were ready. There is not enough or quality performance from the perspective of the franchisee or even the multi-unit leader. The career sometimes gets derailed because of the lack of knowledge on how to do it well, no matter how badly they want to do a great job. Unfulfilled expectations, burnout, right? And it is just not a good position. And a lot of these men and women, like I mentioned, takes a long time for them to figure out how to do the job right, because usually how people are being trained is, hey, Mary, congratulations. You are great. You're a super GM. And because of that, we're promoting you to district manager. So here are the keys to your units. And by the way, Joe here has been doing it for 3 years. You're going to job shadow him for a little while. And that's how you're going to learn how to do the job. The end. And there is so much more that needs to happen because of the skills required to be successful is so important. On top of that, today's district managers have challenges like never before. Bigger staffing issues, lack of bench, people don't want to be leaders, focusing on urgent and not the important because so many fires are going on, lots of activities, but very little results because they don't know how to accomplish those directly, working way too many hours because they're trying to compensate for the lack of knowledge and structure. And at the end of the day, they end up becoming super GMs because that's what they're comfortable with, right? Instead of being a district manager, they say, they go into the units and they just, manager out of the way and I'll just handle it while I'm here. And those are the things that are challenging for them today. Well, here at the American Franchise Academy, we are on a mission to change this. And we have been doing this, we have been fulfilling this mission for now over 3 years. We are focused on providing business leaders with the knowledge, the tools, and the resources that they need to be successful. We started in 2016, so we have celebrated our 9th anniversary. And we initially started helping franchisees, but the district manager program was launched over 3 years ago. Our clients come from all kinds of industries. We focus in the franchise world because what we focus is in the leadership and management skills. But it doesn't matter what industry you're in. You could be in food service, personal service, education, health and wellness. It doesn't matter what industry you're in because what we are working on, the types of skills that we are providing are leadership and management, and those are principles that no matter what industry you're in, they apply. And for that reason, we have clients from a wide variety of industries and brands. Since we started 9 years ago, we have created a development program focusing on the franchisee and their leaders' success exclusively. And we start with the unit management basics. That is a program dedicated for any person that running a shift by themselves, whether they're an assistant manager, a manager, or a single unit franchisee. This is the basics program. And then you have the unit management advanced. That is for unit managers that are about to be promoted to unit manager, or for unit managers and for single unit franchisees. Those two programs are dedicated for the men and women that are unit leaders running one unit. The next program is a multi-unit leadership certification program, which is for new district managers, current district managers, and franchisees that they themselves are overseeing multiple units. And the last one is a multi-unit ownership certification, and that is for new franchisees that are focused on growth and building a multi-unit enterprise. However, today is all about the multi-unit leadership certification program. I just want to give you a picture of who we are and what we do every day to serve franchisees and their leaders. When it comes to the multi-unit leadership certification program, I can tell you that there is no other program like it. We have looked and looked, and there is no program that provides a type of guidance and knowledge and tools and training that this program provides. Let's get it out of the way. The investment for this program is $2,900 per person. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be covering not only what it includes for the participant, but it also includes their direct supervisor. So I wanted to get that out of the way so people know, it's always something in their minds, right? Okay, so in this information session, I'm going to cover the curriculum of the program, the methodology and how we deliver it to ensure learning, the outcome that you should expect, and the investment. Now, as I cover the curriculum, I want you to see it from this perspective. The curriculum matches exactly what we believe should be the critical responsibilities of a district manager. So we wanted this presentation to be educational as well as informative about our program. So as I'm going over the curriculum, I wanted you to see it from the perspective of this is what the district managers are supposed to be doing every single day in their job. And by the way, it matches exactly what our curriculum is here at the Academy with this particular program. And we focus on knowledge and skills. What we have included in our training programs is all tactical, practical information. There is no fluff. We call the AFA the no fluff zone because no one has time for fluff. No district managers, not unit managers, not franchisees. And so we really get to the actual everyday executable tactics and lessons and processes and procedures that these men and women need to execute every day to be successful. And that is what the curriculum is based on. The program is focused on the raw responsibilities and routines of a successful multi-unit leader. And so I'm going to go over these modules. And again, remember that these modules match exactly what we believe are the knowledge and the responsibilities that these men and women must have to be successful. So in the first module, we focus on the role. And what that means is that we actually go over what is the role as a district manager, as well as what is not the role as a district manager, which is just as important because one of the things that happens, as I mentioned earlier, is that a lot of these district managers default to the super GM position rather than being the actual district manager of their region. And so it is important that we clarify what is the role within the organization, within, their units, and representing the business owner. So we clarify again what is the position within the organization and how it's important that they clarify the expectations. And by the way, one of the things that we do along the way is exercises in which the participant gets in alignment with the direct supervisor and the company expectations. So there is alignment so that there could be a fulfillment of expectations from both sides. And so we officially, after the first module, we promote them to being no more GMs or super GMs and to being multi-unit leaders now that they have a clear view of what their role is once they become that position. Then the next modules are focused on the 7 critical responsibilities of the district manager. As you can see here, they are the responsibility of lead, plan, staff, execute, maintain, market, and results. So let's look at each of these responsibilities of a district manager a little bit closer. First, we start with the responsibility of lead. And what does that mean? That means that they're going to learn what are the leadership actions. I mean, we all know that there are a million books, on leadership. I mean, you see some of my books in here. This is not a fake background. This is actually my office. And there's a million books on leadership. Here is another one that's always here in my office. Here's another one that's always in my office. So there's a million ways to describe what leadership is. And so we don't do that. What we do is, what does a good leadership looks like? What are the actions that people are doing? And we clarify that because we want to make it real and palpable and that they can actually observe these actions. So it starts with that understanding and knowledge of people. We also go over situational leadership. How should you adapt your leadership skills based on the situation of motivation and skill of the leaders that they are leading? And so being able to be clear on that, being aware of the differences that exist within their people that they are leading is going to be important for them to be able to inspire those leaders. You heard some of the students that mentioned about inspiring, right? And one of the things that we clarify and would really, drain into the participants is that now your job is not to do, but to inspire those that do, in such a critical mind shift on what they do every day. So again, to be able to inspire people, you need to be able to understand that we are all different. And that means that our personalities are different. And so if part of that is to understand how we are different in our personalities, a part of our skills and motivation level, so that we can then again adapt who we are for them in a way that works for them, right? And so we actually cover that knowledge. Is a very important responsibility of a district manager to really be clear on that, right? And of course, development plans. How do you follow a process to be able to develop the individuals in the things that they're lacking, and not from the disciplinary process, not as a way to, get rid of them or fire them, but really everybody should have a development plan at all times so that we can improve in the skills that we are, that we are still missing, whether they are leadership action skills or maybe job skills or maybe operational skills. We provide, one of the responsibilities for district managers is to have a structured way to create a development plan to continuously improve their leaders. And that is part of what we teach them in this module for the district manager program. The next critical responsibility of a district manager is to plan. And this is a critical responsibility. I mean, they're all critical, but this one not only is it critical, but it's very different from what a unit manager needs to know. A unit manager, 80% of what they do is dictated by the operations, right? Operations says you open the unit at a certain time, you close the unit at a certain time. Operations dictate how you take care of customers, how you produce either the product or the service that you deliver. It also, operations dictate that you have to hire, recruit, and interview employees, and you need to also discipline and motivate and train them. Operations also dictates that you need to order products, or that you need to build schedules, that you need to take care of customer issues, etc., etc. 80% of what a unit manager does is dictated by operations. In the district manager position, 100% of what they do is dictated by themselves. They decide when, they decide what, they decide how, they decide where, they decide why, and they decide what should be the outcome of whatever it is that they're going to plan to do. That's a very big shift and a skill that really needs to be acquired to be able to be efficient and effective and not be paralyzed by the lack of clarity of what to do next. And so planning is a critical skill. So of course you need to master your calendar. There are only 24 hours in a day, and we need to be able to use those 24 hours as efficient and effectively as we can using the calendar that we have and the technology that's available to us to manage our calendar. Of course, part of the effectiveness part of efficiency is that you need to gather data. What data do you gather? We are just, I think, at the end of the information age. I think we're going into the artificial intelligence age, but I mean, but it's still with us come all this information age, which is an overwhelming amount of information, right? And it is so much that we sometimes get paralyzed by the data, right? You heard analysis paralysis. So, how do we discern what should be the data that we need to gather that is really the most important one that is going to help us do the right activities at the right time? And so, having that ability to do that is going to be very important and be able to discern between what's urgent and what's important. And if we get derailed, how do we then get back into our plan to make sure that we still fulfill the things that we knew are the important ones? That discernment and ability to prioritize is a very important skill and responsibility of a district manager. And of course, when you do all of this, is how you're able to leverage time. When you are a unit manager, you have one unit to worry, one team, one set of customers, one building. But when you're a district manager, you have multiple units, and you need to be able to figure out how to leverage the time that you do spend in those units, because it's a lot less than you used to when you had only one. And you need to be able to leave a lasting legacy even when you're not there. So how do you leverage your time to be able to make that effectively? And that's what this module and this lesson and this responsibility of a district manager is all about. The next responsibility of a district manager, and that is staffing. Now, they're not responsible to hire every single person in the unit. Clearly, the unit manager must be trained already on how to recruit and interview and hire and onboard and train and motivate and discipline and terminate. All that is the responsibility of a unit manager. But as a district manager, your responsibility is to ensure that you can support the manager in staffing the units the right way, as well as they are the ones that are going to be eventually selecting who the leaders are for each unit. So this is the responsibility of a district manager. So it starts all with staffing levels. How do you analyze each of your units, and are they at the right staffing levels? And not with just guessing or feel, but actual real data. How do you know that your units are staffed? What should be the objective for each one? Because every unit should be different based on volume. And how do you then determine what is the need so that you can support them in that need if need be, and not in hiring people that are not needed for the wrong positions. And so they need to be able to manage the staffing levels across all units in their district. They also need to do bench planning. And what this means is that they need to be able to see not only who are the current managers and leaders, but they need to look beyond that and start looking at the plan for the next level, so that whenever the need arises for either a new assistant manager, shift lead, or even a unit manager, that you already have that plan in place. So many units end up being without a manager because there was no nurture for the next level to have that next leader ready to go and slide in. And this is what sometimes paralyzes the district managers, because they end up stuck running shifts and running stores while they find someone else and train them and be able to separate. And that makes these managers or these district managers unit managers instead of district managers, which then hurts all the other units because they're not giving them the attention that they deserve and they need. And so bench planning is, again, a critical skill and a critical responsibility of a district manager. The next thing is, as you're creating that bench planning, you need to be able to develop the leaders for them to be able to be ready when that need arises. And so development of the leadership in their team, not only in the current leaders, but the next level, is an ongoing responsibility of a district manager. Keeping an eye on them, making sure that they're progressing on the leadership, using the tools that either the franchisor or the franchisee has created and developed for their team, but being able to manage, monitor it so that, again, they have that bench ready to go when it's needed in their organization. And then, of course, retention. It is true that the unit managers are the ones that are in the unit every day, leading the team and inspiring them and creating hopefully a culture where people want to stay. However, the district manager does set the tone. They are the ones that are leading the pack after all. And believe it or not, every time the district manager shows up to the unit, they do create a difference on the environment that the people are working on. So are these district managers a positive effect when they show up to the units, or are they a negative effect when they show up to the units? That who they are and how they lead and how they inspire the team will cause and have an effect on retention. And we all know that retention is profitability. The longer that we're able to keep people in place, the more profitable and better operated the units are. And the district manager must be a positive influence to cause this retention to happen. So that is the third critical skill of a district manager. Then we have the skill of execute. And this is all about making sure that the unit is executing the business and brand systems with a high level of excellence every single day. This is a key responsibility of a district manager. So the number one way to do that is through an effective unit visit. That means that when they are at the unit, what are they doing? What is the process that they follow so that they can have the time there be as effective as possible? Are they there and are they inspiring the people? Are they providing guidance and coaching? Are they focusing on the things that are important? And are they making the people feel like they're valued and important in their organization? This is going to be critical for to be able to inspire the people to execute the business and brand systems every day. And are they able to do a proper walkthrough that actually identifies opportunity that they can then change and guide and coach the unit managers and the team into doing a better job? And once you have done that, if you have done that and you have an effective unit visit, how do they follow up? Because they might only be in that unit 2, 3, 4 hours, and then they're gone. When will they be back? In 3 days? In 7 days? Right? And so while they're not there, how do they do an effective follow-up, right? So the idea is that a great and effective district manager causes an impact not only when they're in the unit, but even when they're not in the unit. So what process are they doing to properly follow up effectively on the things that were left behind to be done? And that's going to be a critical responsibility of a district manager. And then, of course, communication and coaching, because all of these things are being done through communication and coaching. The district manager is not supposed to be doing, they're supposed to be inspiring. And one of the ways that you inspire is through effective communication and coaching, so that they people that are supposed to be executing every day do it and do it in a positive and joyful way. And so this is a very important skill that a district manager must have, and a process, right? Because a skill, the way that you have the skill is how do you execute the skill? What is the process in which you do that communication? What's the process in which you do that coaching? That's a skill that you need to be able to have to be able to do it effectively. And then how do we change performance? How do we improve any opportunities that we have? How do we let's say that we have a labor cost issue. Let's say that we have a cost of goods issue. Maybe you have a customer service issue. What is the process that these, district managers have to be able to cause change and improve the performance on any of the KPIs, key performance indicators, that they understand and realize through the data gathering that are an opportunity? This is a critical responsibility of a district manager to be able to cause performance improvement in whatever area of opportunity there is. And then that brings us to the critical responsibility of maintain. And that means to be able to have the units that are clean and in proper working order so that the sales never stop. The customer experience is always a positive one. And this is a critical responsibility of a district manager to be able to do it in all of their units. And for this, there has to be a preventive maintenance process. What is the preventive maintenance process that they have? How do they keep track of when things have been done, whether there's an AC filter change or motor cleaning or a proper dusting of things, or the fire extinguisher, maintenance, etc. There's many things. Whether you are equipment heavy or not, there are things that need to be done to prevent any issues where there are accumulation of dirtiness or potential breaking of equipment. So there needs to be a plan for that. And the district manager needs to follow on that plan across all the districts. So they need to have a process to do that so that it's easy for them to do. I mean, their business and their job is so difficult already that if they don't have a process to do all of this, it makes it very difficult for them to be able to stay on top of all these things without burnout. So not only it has to be a preventive maintenance, but now what if maintenance needs do come up? What's the process? How do they manage those maintenance needs in a way that they get addressed as quickly as possible and at the lowest cost as possible, right? What is the process? What are the policies? What are the procedures that are followed so that the managers feel that like they're being taken care of and that the district manager is able to be efficient at doing it, but also keep in mind the cost of the organization. This is, again, a very important responsibility for district manager. And then redundancy management. There are certain equipments that are key for the business, right? So if something breaks down, is there a redundancy? Is there something, a secondary backup that they can have, or process in which they can recover quickly when a critical piece of equipment breaks down, whether it's an oven or a chair for a hair salon or a car wash, area, who knows, right? There's, depending on the industry, you can have many things go wrong. And if there's a critical equipment that if it breaks down, you'll get sales or customer service interruptions. This is a problem. So the district manager needs to be able to have a redundancy management process so that they can recover as quickly as possible. And then of course, last but not least, there are natural and man-made disasters. What are the contingency plans for that? Again, the district manager is the one that represents the business owner in their district. So if something happens, if there's a flood, what is the contingency plan? If there's a fire, what's the contingency plan? If there is a power failure, what's the contingency plan? This is something that the district manager needs to be trained and clear on so that they can properly handle their district or any of these issues that happen when they happen the right way. And by the way, the best time to figure these contingency plans are before they happen, not when they're in the middle of it, because then that's when we potentially make, poor decisions. So this is all the responsibility of a maintain or maintenance. Which brings us to our sixth responsibility of the district manager, which is it is to market. It is true that if you're in a franchise organization, you do pay the franchisor a certain marketing fee, right? Most franchisees do that. However, there's a certain amount that needs to be invested locally. And honestly, as a franchisee or franchisee leader, you must own your sales. That means that you're not going to just count on the franchisor to do things for you because, hey, sometimes they might be great at national things, but when it comes to your community, they're not going to come and knock on your community and your neighbors to come and help you. So you need to own your sales. And here's where the district manager should own their sales along the side with the unit manager. So it all should start with a unit profile, which means that every unit is different. One unit might be in the neighborhood, another unit might be in an industrial area, another unit might be in an office area, another unit might be on a tourist area. Every unit has a different profile. And so we need to start there. Understand what the unit profile is for that each of their units. By the way, every unit they need to be aware of and create a way for them to understand that so that they can then do a local store marketing co-creation with the unit manager. Obviously, the unit manager will know the area much better than the district manager, and therefore it should be co-created. But to be able to co-create it, it needs to be led and guided by the district manager. And so that's going to be an important skill and responsibility of a district manager. And then they need to follow up on the execution because just making a plan is not enough. You need to have follow up on the execution of that local store marketing plan. And by the way, never have a local store marketing plan on a unit that is not operationally ready. But if they are operationally ready, then of course we want to be able to do this and increase sales. And so how do they follow up on the execution? Because again, they're only in these units 2 to 4 to 6 hours a week. And so they had to have a process to follow up and not get confused with unit 1 and unit 3 and unit 7 because that could be confusing and then you cannot be effective at follow up. And so that's why follow-up is so important. So execution is how well this plan that was created was executed every day, and then the follow-up comes from the district manager to ensure that things were done the right way. So this is the responsibility of a district manager. So they're not going to do the plan on their own. They're going to co-create it with the unit manager, and that requires a process and a skill to be able to make that happen. And that brings us to the last critical responsibility for district manager, which is ultimately results. Everything that we do, from the role, from the lead, from plan, from staff, from maintenance, from market, all those things that execute is all to produce results. Bottom line, profitability of the business. That's why they have the job, so that they can actually help their direct supervisor or franchisee produce those results. So it all starts by creating a culture of metrics in their district. A way that we know, we have the saying, you move what you measure. And so the managers and the leaders in the organization, ideally you want the team members too, frontline, to have a culture of metrics. So see the numbers. Are we winning or are we losing? Because if we don't have a culture of metrics, how do we know if we're winning? Right? If we are just here to, make pizzas or do massages or facials or car washes, and we don't really look at the metrics, how do we know if we're winning? How do we know we're doing better or worse? It all starts with having a culture of metrics. They also need to have financial understanding. They need to be able to read and analyze and understand and interpret the profit and loss statement, and then be able to do actions based on what they see in those financial results. If they're going to properly impact the business, because most of them, if they're district managers to overseeing multiple units, that means that they're overseeing multi-million-dollar businesses, because the district is a multi-million-dollar business. And if they don't understand the financials of it, imagine that's just, very important for them to do, so that they understand the impact of what they do every single day. We actually get really surprised in our classes how many district managers do not know how to read and interpret a financial statement, which, by the way, we do cover in the program. And then recognition process. So, the carrot and the stick, right? So we want to start with the carrot. What we need to have as a district manager, they are responsible to have a process to recognize the people that are doing a great job. And it doesn't have to be expensive or too elaborate, but it has to be enough that not only rewards the people that are doing a great job, but it motivates the other ones that are not quite there. And so having a very robust, consistent, reliable recognition process is going to be very important responsibility for a district manager. And with that comes the other side, right? The stick, which is the accountability process. What is the process that we have to hold people accountable? And this does not mean that we're going to just discipline and fire people. It's just really the accountability process is the process that we're going to follow to actually cause change behaviors, what we want. And so what process do they have to make that happen? And that's going to be a critical responsibility of a district manager. And so that's the ultimate result of the ultimate responsibility of a district manager, to produce results. Now, with all of these responsibilities, and by the way, of course, there's a lot more micro, medium, responsibilities, but these are the 7 that we believe are the critical ones for a successful district manager. Now, all of these get executed through routines, right? Because we talked about, generic, things, but they're all executed through daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual routines, which are the habits of what they do consistently. And now those are the habits, or those are the routines, or the actions that we know that if we do this consistently will produce the ultimate positive results that we want. Having those results, having those routines be clear and defined and in alignment with the leadership of the organization is going to be important, so that you have a proper process for this position. So imagine if you had all of this. Imagine if you, as a franchisee or a district manager, if what would it be like to master these skills? Because if you've been a district manager for a while, you kind of do some of these things. Now, is it clear in your mind what the step 1, step 2, step 3 is? Well, depending on how long you've been doing it, it may be, or maybe you just compensate by working harder because you might not have that clarity. But imagine what it would be like to be able to master these skills. So I would like for you to hear from one of our graduates as to how her life and her job has changed since learning all this information. And she is, as you're going to hear, an experienced district manager. So let's hear from Miss Laura.
I learned so much. I've been doing this for a while. I oversee 10 locations and I oversee the other area managers and district managers in our company. My job is just so broad. And I really liked like the effective unit visits and strategizing and sticking to my plan because I will get so pulled in so many different directions that even though I handle things, I'm working, 15 hours a day on my phone, answering emails, like trying to play catch up because I have always really valued being in the moment with my unit leaders and really like strategizing with them what they need and what's going to best benefit them. So I loved that. I loved the personality test. I thought that that was really an awesome addition to get to know like how they think, how they feel. I had all of them take it as well so that I could get more insight onto like who they were and how they would respond to me and what kind of sets them on fire and how I could better inspire them. So I loved the effective unit visit. I always go in, I think in our positions, we're just kind of conditioned to look for like if something's out of place or if something is broken or like it's just something that I always do when I walk through, but I've never had an actual template where I like check off my list as I'm walking from front to the back of the store. I just like open doors, make sure the vacuum's working, kind of just go through the motions. So that has helped me really make sure that there's nothing being overlooked when I do my first initial walkthrough, and then planning my time correctly and efficiently to sit down with my manager, go over what her needs and wants are, what the store needs. I really liked learning the P&E statement as well. So really understanding like where we even profit and where I had control over how to make the business more successful and with my labor costs and where I could really help the company just continue to grow. That was from a completely different level that I've typically never looked at. That breakdown of the P&E was very informative to me.
One of the things to know about Laura is that after she graduated from our class, she was selected as the district manager of the year for the entire brand. And we found out about that a few months later, which was so exciting to see from one of our graduates. So this is what we see so far. What are the responsibilities of a district manager? Of course, behind each of them, it's a lot more detail. I mean, she talked about the personality test. We do that. We also do a survey on leadership skills. We do a lot of things on this. So let me walk you through the methodology now that we use in our program on how we transfer this information and this knowledge to our participants. And that's what the methodology is all about. So first of all, the perspective as if they are brand new and in development, because we want to make sure that we don't miss anything. So we might cover some of the things that people might think are basic, but guess what? For somebody that's new in this position, it's not basic. And all we do is for the people that are with us that participate. Sometimes we have 10-year, 15-year veterans that like her, that love the program because it gives them very specific structure behind their job. And all we ask is that they come in with a Shoshin mind, meaning a learner's mind, open to see different perspectives and maybe to be reminded of things that they may have known but didn't have a clear structure to it. So that's the perspective that we use. Then the program is a 10-week program and there are weekly lessons. So it's 10 weeks and they're weekly lessons. They are online and they can access them either on a computer or on the phone. We have our own app where they can watch the lessons every single week. We provide them with a workbook, and the workbook looks like this. It's a picture of it over there, but this is the exact workbook that they receive with all the content. And what happens is that as they watch in the lessons, they are filling in the workbook so that book will be for them for the rest of their career. Every lesson that requires a template, a form, a tool, the downloadable templates are included in everything and they're editable. So you can take our logo out, put your logo in, and it becomes part of your process for that particular responsibility, routine, task that you do every day. And we cover one module per week. Okay. So here's kind of what it looks like. There's the lessons, there are downloads, and you look at that and you complete the workbook. And this is kind of what it looks like every day. And you know where you are. You can stop where you are and then come back and finish up the module as you need, 24/7, anytime, anywhere, totally flexible. So that's the first part of the methodology. The second part is that this is a guided program. Like, we don't believe in giving you a whole bunch of videos and good luck, right? Because we need guidance. And so you will have an assigned community manager as well as a consistent instructor. And then our instructors are experienced ex-managers, district managers, and even franchisees that are now sharing and paying forward their knowledge and the information. As a matter of fact, the instructor for this fall class is here with us. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and give Mr. Curtis the ability to unmute himself and share a few words as the instructor of the upcoming fall class. So Curtis, please take it away.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm glad that you're here. My name's Curtis Moore, and what I want to cover with you is ask you a question to begin with, and that's, what does a successful supervisor look like? And I used to ride with franchise owners, and we would visit stores, and I would always ask, who's your best supervisor? And that wasn't the critical question. The secondary, the follow-up was, why do you say that? What makes you say that this person out of 4, 3, 8, whatever it was, is the good supervisor? And I've heard some crazy answers. But what the answers that really make sense to me is people that they say they're methodical. They're performance-based. Their routines are planned. They don't do willy-nilly, random. They've given thought to where they want to be, what they want to do when they get there, and they inspire people. And these things are tangible. When you're around a supervisor like that, you know it. You can tell it. And conversely, when you're around one that doesn't have a plan, now they got a great work ethic. They got a great heart. They were a great manager. But when they leave their house in the morning, they really don't have any clue where they're going. And they sure don't have a clue of what they're going to do when they get there. What's their structure? Supervisors, in my observation, and I would say it applied to me, it applied to Aicha, it applied to a lot of y'all, I'm sure. Super GMs, these GMs that were just the best. That's who gets promoted in the retail world to managers. And because nobody ever says, this guy, he can't handle one store, so we're going to put him in charge of 10 stores. Nobody does that. So these super GMs that have this toolbox full of store experience get promoted, and within 4 walls, they're phenomenal. They can do everything. But when they're trying to supervise and oversee and direct operations of 5 stores, 8 stores, 10 stores, that's a whole nother world. And that's why not only Aicha and I, a lot of people say the biggest leap in leadership in the business world is to go from the one store manager to a multi-unit leader. And the reason is the skill sets are so vastly different. Yes, it's great, and it is needed that you come in as a multi-unit leader, that you have the toolbox of the store manager experience, but you got to have more than that. Aicha mentioned it earlier, but that's the truth. Here's how people back in the day got trained, and from my understanding and still talking to people in the business, this is how they're still getting trained. In a nutshell, you were a great manager. We're so proud of you. We're promoting you. Follow Bob this week. He'll show you what to do. And Bob does the best he can. Yeah, turn this report in on Tuesday, and you got a call on Thursday. It's those kinds of things. Bob never talks about a lot of stuff that's critical, things that we try to cover in this class. It's things, and I got trained by Bob. Aicha got trained by Bob. And from there, you just do the best you can. You work like a dog, and it's trial and error. And many times you go, okay, I'm not doing that again. There's got to be a better way than what I'm doing. This is like banging my head against the wall. So, and there's something called that speaks of this. It's called the Peter Principle. It's Dr. Lawrence Peter. He kind of a behavioral scientist, and he came up with this principle, and it says in any, not just retail or not just food, any hierarchical system where you come in at a lower level, you work hard, and you're successful, you get promoted, and you get this new job, new responsibilities. It's a broader look. You work hard, you're successful. And he says you will continue to rise until you become, his words, incompetent. And what he says is by being incompetent, that means your skills at that level are no longer good enough for the job. What's required of you, you don't have. And so what AFA is, in a nutshell, is about expanding your skills into areas that we all at that point needed to improve if we want to be successful. Because everything that we talk about is for you, whether you've been doing this for 15 years, and we've had people in the class like that, or you're a manager right now, but your boss is thinking about promoting you and is thinking about sending you to this class. You have got to expand your skills to be prepared to be successful. People don't decide their success. They decide their routines, and those routines will decide their success. And so the question and the answer we're trying to give is to give you the right routine so that on Thursday at 4 o'clock, you're doing things that will lead you to produce better results for the company you work for. So I look forward to those that come in the class. That's it, Aicha.
Thank you, Curtis. So that is the instructor, and he, a lot of experience. He and I have known each other for a long time. He was he was the trainer for my region when I was overseeing over 60 restaurants here in the Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee region for company stores. And since then, we've known each other. And when it was time for the academy to find our first instructor, he's the first one that came to mind. He's amazing, not only on his background as a ex-manager, district manager, franchisee, and now semi-retired. I pulled him out of retirement for him to pay it forward for all the students in the academy. So thank you, Curtis, for that. And I'm going to go ahead and continue with sharing the methodology in which how we transfer all this knowledge to your participants. So he's the instructor. Of course, we have a community manager, program manager. Monica is the one that's here. She's the one that's going to be supporting this particular class. And so every week, besides the videos, the lessons that they get, right, from the platform, they will have a weekly instructor-led interactive review call, which is what you're going to have with Curtis. He's the one that facilitates that particular class. And it happens every week. It is 90 minutes long. The cameras must be on. The phones should be off to be able to be counted as present, and they have to be present to be able to qualify for the certification. They need to have a minimum attendance of 8 calls, and they need to actively participate. But don't worry, Curtis takes care of that. Once they start, they will definitely participate. And so these calls is when we go deep into the content of the information and really becomes more rich of experience. Then the next step in the process is they have action items. They're going to be having every week action items, assignments, where they're going to be implementing the knowledge. They're actually applying it. And then they're going to be followed by, even in there will be some of the actions will be discussion with direct supervisor to have alignment on the things that we're teaching them. So we are going to bring them 80 to 90% of the way there, but every company is different. So for example, we talk about maintenance policies, right? What's the approved budget for the unit manager? What's the approved budget for the district manager? At what point do we need to ask the franchisee for approval? Well, obviously, we cannot dictate that. We just tell them, you need to have that policy clear. So go and speak with your direct supervisor and find out what that is so that there is clarity on that. That's just one small example that most people will understand, but there needs to be alignment really on everything that they're going to be doing now forward. And so, of course, they had to submit the assignments. As a matter of fact, they need to submit 100% of all the assignments to be able to be invited to go into the final exam and graduate. So this is a requirement for the program. We manage these action items like this. So they have, these are the action items listed by person. They submit it. This is the platform that we have. And then just because they submitted is not enough, we actually verify that the quality and completeness of the assignment or action item is right. And then we have a way to interact with them and give them feedback on all of that. So very, very important. Also, we have testing because there needs to be accountability, right? We need to know that they know. And so every module has a quiz for them to practice and prepare for the final exam. The final exam is a multiple choice with a written essay, and they are required to pass with a 90% to be able to be certified by the American Franchise Academy. So going through the program just basically guarantees that they will have access to the information. If they actually receive the certification at the end, means that they actually showed up, they actually did the action items, we were able to verify that they learned the information and that they now are fully prepared to implement in your company. And that's what the certification of the American Franchise Academy means. And so basically it starts with online lessons, complete the workbook, interactive review call with Curtis, instructor, action items, and you go back and back for the 9 weeks. And then the last week is the final exam and graduation. We do have a graduation. It's a celebration where we invite them so that we can acknowledge them. And we also invite the direct supervisors to celebrate with us in that very fun and awesome day. So as you can see, it will take time. This is like going to college for 10 weeks. And I know that it is intense, but imagine going through this process, this experience for just 10 weeks and getting so much value from it. So it starts weekly with, the recorded lessons that they can have again in the PC or the phone, 1 to 2 hours, depending on the week. It varies a little bit. The discussion call with the instructor happens on Tuesdays, 10:30 a.m. to 12 noon Eastern. Every week. This is the only thing that is non-changeable. It's about 90 minutes, an hour and a half every week, where they come to have that really powerful discussion with the instructor and fellow participants from different industries. The action items take 1 to 2 hours, depending on if they don't have anything like that in the company, then they have to start from scratch. If they have something, then they are, that they can adapt, that they can use that. So anywhere between 1 and 2 hours. Now, the one thing about this is that the action items is actually doing the job. So if we are teaching them how to do an effective unit visit, the action item is do an effective unit visit. So it's not useless homework. Remember, no fluff in the academy. So whatever they're going to be doing is going to be things that should be part of the job every day anyway. So this program is about 4 to 6 hours per week when you look at all of this information together, including the action items that are doing the job, right? And so that way it gives you an idea for 10 weeks and you give them the gift of all of this knowledge. Whenever you're ready, enrollment is officially open right now. So if you see that this is the program for you, that this is what you're looking for, all you need to do is go to leadenroll.com and you can enroll your participants. So let's hear from one of our clients. Actually, he is a multi-unit franchisee that actually is overseeing the units himself, and this is his experience. So let's hear from Mr. Hameen.
I think the biggest thing, like I have written down in my essay too, was clarity. I think that's something I was missing because my brand is not like established like a lot of these other brands. It's a up and coming emerging brand, right? And there's not really that many franchisees with multi-units yet. So everyone's still growing, and I just signed very early on with this brand. So been ahead of the curve. And a lot of the franchisees that have multi-units, they don't have district managers yet. So I wanted to take a course that would teach me how to teach someone else when I'm ready to give that position on to someone else. And I think the templates, the tools, the dashboard are all tools that I'm going to be using for a long time and being able to make sure that we can sustain faster growth.
Yeah, so I mean, great, very smart man for sure. Being able to get this information so early for him was pivotal, and he really loved the program. So what's the outcome that you should expect? The participants, going through this program will learn and be clear what their role is and what is not their role. They will be able to be the leader and develop the leaders that inspire other people in the district. They will be much more effective and efficient at planning their time because they will know what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and why to do it. And they will be able to manage the staffing levels across the district to ensure that they have the proper staffing, as well as executing the brand and business systems with excellence. And of course, make sure that the units are in good physical condition with a very clear process that helps them and the unit managers to be in alignment, and co-create a local store marketing plan with the unit manager so that they can execute them, and then they can just follow up to make sure that it is getting done. They will be able to follow on very specific, consistent routines to produce the proper results that are required for the business and meet the expectations of their direct supervisor and the company. As far as a direct supervisor, what will be your role? Because your role is critical for the success of the participant. So as a direct supervisor during the program, you're going to be invited to participate in 3 calls with us, the leaders, to be able to support their learning. We're going to give you status updates on how they're doing, guide you on how to follow up with them, and make sure that you make the most out of this investment for your people. You will have full access to the entire program, the online learning center, so that you can watch the recordings of all the lessons so that you can be in alignment with what your direct supervisor is learning. And we're doing this for this program only because we know that most direct supervisors have not gotten any district manager training because no one has. So that's why we have added this as an additional benefit. Obviously, we want you to make time for the action item discussions with your participants so that you can really be in alignment with them, as well as provide company-specific business management systems. We're not teaching the district managers how to recruit, how to interview, how to hire. Those are unit manager responsibilities, and it should be management systems that the franchise organization has already created. They will need that to use those to be able to help the unit managers on their tasks. Of course, the time and space for them to be able to participate in the event, in the program, especially if there are any challenges in the area. It's going to be 10 weeks that if they can spend the time and effort on this program, the type of leader that come out of the other end is going to be totally changing from who they were before. Support during the program and make sure that they're completing the action items in a timely basis. And if they're not, find out what they need. Of course, afterwards, during the program, we're going to make sure that they have the knowledge and the tools. But after, as a direct supervisor, then obviously it's going to be up to you to follow up on the execution of those routines to be able to get the results that now they should be able to get for you and your company. So let's hear from one more franchisee, and then we're going to close the conversation for today. If you are ready to register someone, just know that the link is in the chat. Also, if you have more than one person that you would like to enroll, there is a volume discount that you can actually access. All you need to do is let Monica know how many students you want to register, and she will give you the appropriate discount code for them. So let's hear from Mr. Mark.
It's been a great course for not just my participant, but for myself as well. We've created a cadence to where we meet now every Friday since the beginning of the course, sit down, and I love the strategy of, okay, we're going to block time to where we're only talking about the course. What are you learning? What are our takeaways that we can implement, which there have been quite a few. Thank you very much. And then once that is done, it's like, okay, are we done? Do we have any more questions pertaining to the course? No? Okay, now on to the next subject. And then we start talking about, okay, how are we implementing this? And it's been, my participant has said it more than once. I didn't realize I was flying by the seat of my pants so much. And this has really helped us get more organized so that when we are in the clubs, when she is in the clubs, it's, I've got a plan. We're sticking to the plan. And it's been very good. Thank you very much.
Well, that's Mr. Mark. Definitely going to change. I'm gonna skip Mr. Howard because I see we're running out of time. So again, reminder of what the investment is, $2,900 per participant, and includes everything that we talked about. Obviously, the program, the workbook, the discussion calls, the action items reviews, the certification, if the requirements are met, and the direct supervisor will get access to the Student Learning Center, the 3 guiding calls, as well as a direct supervisor guide that we have created. Again, if you have more than one participant that you would like to go through it, we do have volume discounting. So let Monica know, and she will be able to give you, based on the number of students that you want to put through, the appropriate code for that group. Just a reminder who this is for, obviously for prospective and future district managers, anybody that you're about to, promote, anybody that's already either a new district manager, an experienced one, but especially one that is struggling, or maybe somebody that is burnout, that needs a little oomph. And even for motivational purposes, this program, one of the things that a lot of franchisees have told us is that, man, my experienced district manager just came out super energized and much clearer and much more efficient, even though they had prior experience, or people like Hameen, that they themselves are overseeing multiple units. That's what this ideal participant is for our program. The winter class opens in January 6th, meaning that we are a month away. However, because of the holidays and everything that happens in December is why we have opened enrollment so early. However, so that we already have 16 spots taken. So if you believe this is the program for you and your team, this is the moment to act, because even though registration does close on December 22nd, the reality is that probably will fill before then. We already have 16 spots left, so therefore only 9 available. So my suggestion is that you enroll as soon as you can. The final exam will happen in March 16th, and as you see, graduation is March 17th, and everybody will be invited to join to celebrate the accomplishment of the graduates. Again, the investment is $2,900 and includes everything that we have already covered today and with the group volume. So that's all that we have today. I'm going to stick around and answer any questions that you may have for the people that are still here with us. What else would you like to know? Let me go from to the Q&A, and then I'm going to come back at the end. If you join a little bit right on time, that means that you did not see some of the testimonials from all of our past graduates. So I'm going to stay after the Q&A, and I'm going to play. It's about 5 minutes worth of testimonials from past students, because we understand. Let me actually come full circle. We understand that it's not just about what we say, but you want to know from participants, what did they say? What did they learn? So we're going to play that for you at the end. And if you're ready to leave, thank you for joining us in this time. And I hope to see you guys or your participants in the class. So let's hear from these graduates.
I would say there's a lot of all-encompassing things, definitely the structure, like Jimmy mentioned. But overall, for me, I think, and I wrote about this a little bit, the importance of following up. It's definitely made me, I think, seen as a more reliable leader. It's easier to achieve goals because I'm following up on them. Overall, I think it's made my units better, but also my managers better. So a lot of all-encompassing into that, but I would narrow it down to following up and, achieving those goals.
One of the biggest things I take away, and I wrote about this in the essay part though, was again the staffing module in that section always stick out to me. Anything to do with our people. Practice that I took, again, I thought I did well at it, but it's always at the forefront of my mind now is, when I get to a location, is saying hi to every single employee in the building before I do anything, having conversations with everyone throughout the shift, and making sure I just go say bye, to every single one before I, walk out that door. And the return on that is you can see it when you're in the building, and you can really get a feel for each of our employees when you're there, from coach down to restaurant maintenance or anyone. So just letting that little bit just shows a lot of care.
I have also learned a great deal from this course. The thing that sticks out the most to me, I would say, would be the process of the action plans. I'm a franchise business coach, and so I'm always analyzing what our units are doing and their KPIs, but having a way and a plan to improve them and kind of follow up and stick to a process instead of just saying, fix it and, however you need to, has been super helpful. So that's something that I'm implementing right away.
The big thing changed for me, actually, it was from the beginning, the word inspire. So as my background from Popeye since a while with them, since years. I came from big GM to multi-unit manager. Inspire. Inspire people is very, very important, and that was like the change for me, how to like change your thinking from a GM to a multi-unit manager. So since starting the second discussion, the word inspire, it starts inspiring me first, and then I started putting on the floor with the team, with the manager. So now everything is like thinking differently. It came to routines to understand all the mutual very, very well. Thank you so much. It was very good sessions for me.
You know, to say that there's one thing that I learned in this program is an understatement, because there's a lot that I've learned in this program that I am now using. The biggest one is just the routine aspect. It's just making sure that I have a specific routine that I'm doing each and every day and just keeping to that routine. You know, it's checking my emails at a certain time every day, making sure that when I go into stores, there's a specific routine, and that if there is a fire that comes up, that I continue, you know, I address that and then go back to my purpose of being actually at the store. So that's definitely tremendously helped me a lot. And I truly appreciate just the opportunity to go through this course.
Yeah, you know, I've got all the tools that I need now to do the job. And I think the insight I've gotten as to the difference between being a leader and being someone who leads, I think is a great thing that I've just pulled away from this. Everybody knows what Subway does. Everybody knows how Subway does what they does. But I really have gotten myself to focus on the whys. Why do we do what we do? And if we look at it from that perspective and use that to fuel what takes us to work in the morning, it's a very different mindset that I've adopted. And I would never have gotten there if it hadn't been for the things that I've done in my action items and the stuff I've learned from Curtis. And I have a skill set now that's going to last me for the rest of my professional life.
It's been challenging sometimes to complete everything and then also do what we do every day. But I found myself looking forward to the calls on Tuesday because I was able to take the things even as we went and start implementing them in my day-to-day, and I saw it making my life easier. So that was part of the reason why I started looking forward to the calls, because I was like, okay, what am I going to learn today that's going to help me and make things a little bit easier for me? But I think the main takeaway I had was, you know, having an objective in everything I do, from calendar tasking to unit visit, doing it intentionally, you know, not just putting out fires, but walking into situations with, this is what I want to accomplish. And then thinking about what I want to accomplish and adding that to the list that you guys provided and customizing those. I think prioritizing my task in advance and then blocking time in my day to complete them, it helped me not just like complete my job and do my job well, but it also helped me in my personal life, because it's really hard in this job for work-life balance. It's a struggle, I know, to try to get both in. But if I'm intentional with my calendar, it helps me define what my day looks like. So I'm running my schedule and it's not running me. That's just a little bit, but all of the stuff that we learned, especially the unit visit forms and even the maintenance forms, I think are just great tools to have to make sure that my units are running the way they should, and I'm not forgetting anything.